Just popped down on it's Sunday today, and quite happy to see that the broad beans are in flower. I mean, they've had a bit of pestilence, so I've just been using my garlic and onion wash on the outside. I haven't used anything you know, chemical wise, and they seem to have come into flower quite low down. I'll have to keep a watch on things like black fly. I put these in last night, and these are beetroot. I grew these from seed at home, and I hope that some of them, you know, will take down here. I've put my sort of wash around them, which is my insecticide wash. The slugs have been on one or two things already. I'm not bothering netting these because here on this clay soil, not far from the river, you've got problems because you've got slugs that actually live 6 to 8 inches below the soil. Any ideas are very appreciated. I've even found this year that beans that have been put in, the small stringy beans themselves are being attacked, as you can see. These have done very well here, these shallots. I didn't think they would, but it seems as if they're well happy here. And I've never grown shallots before, so well worth a try if you've got similar soil to me. These, you know, it's clay soil. It's been on for 2 years, and a lot of pestilence, a lot of slugs, you know, a heck of a lot of pests on this plot, but they're very happy. Only the second year for these gooseberries, and already you can see I'm going to get myself a little crop off this lot here. Goji berries, I'm not sure whether the plant I got, because it was only from a, you know, one of these cheap shops, is going to make some flowers, but if they do, apparently it might be in July. These got attacked really badly by sort of a mildew, and I made a sort of a skimmed milk and washing up liquid spray, and then we thinned them out, so I have to see whether they survive. Is public enemy number 1, but I don't use chemicals on them. Any ideas from anyone else would be appreciated, because I don't want to put slug. Red bramleys have done absolutely superb this year. This tree, when I bought it, was one of these basic supermarket varieties, you know, on a graft. So I didn't think much of it, but they've been absolutely superb. And the same, this other tree here next to it here was a very good pollinator. And I put in some plums. This one hasn't been up to much. Again, more bramleys, success, as you can see. And here, green bramley. So these were obviously, say, about 3 or 4 years old when the grafts were bought, and I've only had them in a couple of years. And I'm happy to say I've got a couple of, might even get a couple of plums off. The chicory has gone absolutely triffid down here. It's very, very happy, and I'm waiting for this to flower. Apparently it's got to flower sometime, so maybe that's what these are. And then once it's flowered, then apparently I can start looking at the roots, and I don't know whether it'll grow well next year. The other thing was I found a lot of this wild chamomile, so I've planted 3 little chamomiles on the plot. See how they get on amongst all the rest of the herbs, you know, with the things like oregano and sage and mint and, you know, your lavender. And ooh, there you go, you've got yourself that's one of those nuts that goes like with a Kentish cob. And I've tried to transplant this will be like a rock rose here where you can get rose hips from, and it seems to be still alive. And my damson's still alive. That's grown from seed from a little wild damson tree that I found growing on the river, a long way up the river actually. And you've got the usual here, the rosemary, that does well. This bay bush wasn't doing much at home, and it's a lot happier down here. And curry plants, of course. I put in a load of these Brussels last night, and I've just surrounded them now with like a sort of an anti-insecticide wash. It's a horrible pungent smell around, probably just attract the slugs. But I mean, I've sort of run out of nets, and nets haven't always been successful for me. Here's an example of how I've used netting. And some of the plants just basically, even though there's double netting on some of them, there's a bit left on some of them, as you can see. there on the edges here, but internally it seems to me what it is here is the slugs actually live deep in the soil. So I'm wondering if I actually need to actually treat the soil first, you know, with some sort of wash. Some books mention bicarbonate of soda as being a sort of a chemical that kills these nematodes and you know, pests. Some of these seem to have done a bit better, just under green netting on their own, in different locations. It might be location as regards pestilence, and these were bought from a garden centre. You know, things like these larger winter cabbages. I have tried to plant at home, sort of like I planted some drumhead cabbages as backup to. On my other plot, the Discovery apple has got no fruit this year at all, so I'm looking into pruning it. I mean, I did prune it last year, but its pollinating partner, which is again a Bramley, they just seem to love it on the river here by the Trent. It's not too far down, you know, 10 miles or so away from Southwell, where this particular variety originated from in sort of Victorian times, before really capturing the love of the British people, and of course there's a few gooseberries knocking about this year, as you can see there, and on the lines there. Apparently gooseberries grow on the second year growth, so I'm going to have to look into. I didn't prune these much last year, but I'm still going to get a bit of a crop off them, as you can see. They just do like it. It's fairly sheltered here, and then of course I've mixed this in with some berries such as these red currants, which are just ripening off. Raspberries done really well this year. The only trouble, you get these creeping vines, you need to like nip them out, so I go underground, find out where they are and sort of nip them out, but they'll do fine. These are transplanted from very old stock, I found, not infected it would seem, so they're very tough, these. And also I've got some other cabbages I put in under this more dense white netting, surrounded it with some mint, and used my own homemade insecticide around it to try and deter the worst of insects. Some of it seemed to be surviving and some of it's being mauled, but again I do believe it's from beneath, and that's the best I can do on this plot at the moment, unless anyone else got. People tell me that the grandparents' generation spent a lot of time around here picking things such as sloes and blackberries, so I took a leaf out of the book, found loads of wild blackberries growing around me, and where I can I've spread the berries around, birds have spread them around, cuttings from my own garden. These are really vicious thorns on these, but you can see very heavy croppers in here in the Midlands in England. You really do get decent blackberries, which was part of, I do believe, the old Kingdom of Mercia, if I'm correct, to do with my English history, you know, long time ago in Saxon times, etc. And of course it's the belly of England when it comes to growing things, as long as you know what you do. In some ways I sort of try and fight the soil. Oh, there's a red rose there, but they do say, there you go, there's some elderflower, and there'll be plenty more blackberries to come there, and that's my cob, my Kentish cob there, and then another nut there, and anything that grows rose hips is of interest to me. So a quick tour around the rain-sodden allotment. These berries, there's black currant, these are red currants, as you can see them coming on, and the ones at the front here, I can smell them already, these are black currants. Of course, excellent source of vitamin C. Used, you know, in the 1940s when vitamin C was, you know, at a premium to keep people healthy for your blood vessels and your skin, avoid you getting scurvy. But these red currants, really happy this year. And of course the rhubarb, well, it's sort of getting past its best. There's a few stalks there. These were on the plot when I first got it, and they were just like black little charred up stumps, and someone told me what they were, and I transplanted them all along this sort of raised bed. Again, you've got to pull out this this bindweed stuff, it's just everywhere. But in general, you know, I've put some fertiliser on them. Hello, Mr. Snail. And there you go. More red currant. That's it, time to trudge my way along the old, oops, slip my way along the path to get back home and dry myself out, I think. Oh, there's the stringy beans there, somewhere over there across the plot there. These ones seem to be surviving okay. That's like the third lot I've planted. See, everything else got mould. The cherries I thought would be exciting, but I think a lot of them seem to have been ate by hungry wood pigeons, bless them. But I'd had a good crop off them last year. You can't get too complacent. Raspberries, it looks like these. I'm going to be very happy with these raspberries. So, whole line of these. So, count your blessings, things you can look forward to seeing on the table. And so, these, as I say, were here on the plot. They may well have been for decades at the back, and I've just sort of transplanted them. There's a champagne rhubarb there, and yet more raspberries.